Welcome back to Capitol Tonight. More than 50 business, economic development, and community groups are joining forces to push back on legislation they say will raise construction costs and stop projects in New York. The bill would change state law dealing with prevailing wage requirements for construction projects done under private contract. Joining me now in studio is Mike Elmendorf, CEO of the Associated General Contractors of New York State. Mike, it's good to have you back here in studio. So let's start with just kind of generally what you believe is the risk of expanding the applicability here of the prevailing wage in New Yorkers, especially. I realize we can't talk about this in a silo. We are in the midst of kind of an economic instability moment in the country.
Yeah. So, you know, what this is about is requiring prevailing wage on private construction projects that get economic development incentives of various sorts. And, you know, the question really is, okay, well, then why are we giving out economic development incentives? Is it because New York has extra money, or we're generous, or we're kind? No, it's because New York is already the most expensive state in the nation to build anything, right? So without economic development incentives, a lot of projects simply wouldn't be viable, would mean fewer jobs for union workers, for non-union workers, for everybody. And that's why we have an economic development program. So there's sort of a logic to the idea that, okay, this is why we're giving these incentives, but if we give the incentive, we need to attach requirements that are typically reserved for public work construction projects that will increase the cost of the project. The reality is there'll be fewer projects, and it's not an economic theory, right? This has been done before. Ulster County did this, City of Yonkers did it, and guess what happened? Nothing. They didn't get any applications for assistance through their IDA when they attached prevailing wage. So we've had this requirement on the book since I think 2020. It was at the beginning of COVID when I started losing track of what year it was that it was enacted.
We all did.
And it's, you know, there's some significant guide rails on it, right? It's only projects that have construction project funding that's public more than 30%.
Right.
There's the Public Subsidy Board that kind of polices when a project is covered or not. And it's a process that's pretty much been working. We're not really sure why at this moment, as you point out, when there's a lot of other things happening, tariffs, supply chain disruption, inflation, that are already threatening the viability of projects, we'd consider another self-inflicted wound that would do even more harm.
Well, and part of the governor's overall goal, stated goal, has been to increase the housing supply here in the state. Do you see this as undermining this, and in what way?
100% it would undermine it. And, you know, that's why you look at this coalition. You've got folks in there who are very active in the affordable housing space. I mean, affordability is sort of the buzzword these days, right? And when you attach a requirement that adds not just costs, like the idea is the wage. It's about more than just the wage. There's all sorts of reporting, record-keeping requirements, and things like that again are typically the province of public work construction projects to private work. It will stifle development. It will kill jobs. And again, not just, you know, not non-union jobs, not union jobs, all sorts of jobs. And that's just the wrong thing for this economy at this point, especially in a construction industry that's already fragile, right, in New York.
Let's talk about this coalition that you've brought together to oppose this. Talk about who you're reaching out to, and are you receiving a receptive audience?
Yeah, well, we're reaching out to everybody. You know, it's a broad coalition that basically represents not just the whole of the business community, local governments, and others. We're talking to everybody that we can get in front of. You know, we are down here to the final weeks of the legislative session. This is often a dangerous time. Bills start moving fast and furious, and a lot of them, from our perspective, are not helpful. You know, our agenda at this point is largely defense. It's probably the case for much of the business community. So, you know, we're talking to the legislature, we're talking to the executive. There's a lot of concern about this. And look, there's some really good things happening in New York, right? There are a lot of exciting projects on the horizon. We're working to revitalize downtowns. We're working to make New York more affordable, expand affordable housing. This law would fly in the face of all of that, and that's why we urge the legislature to reject it.
When it comes to, just to play devil's advocate here and get you to engage with this, I mean, backers of this proposal would point to that since 2022, I think this only applied in about 6 cases. And the goal here is to increase wages and thus move some of these construction workers up the economic ladder. I mean, what do you say in response to that?
Well, construction jobs pay well, right? It's not true that in the absence of a government wage mandate on a private construction project that people are working for minimum wage. They're not. Construction workers are at a premium. We don't have enough of them in New York and in America, right? So contractors are paying their workers more to make sure that they have workers to deliver the project. So the idea that absent this, you're going to have folks working for substandard wages is just, it's simply not reality. This is not, and it gets framed as, oh, well, it's an anti-union thing. It's not anti-union. Half my members are union. If it was anti-union, I'd have some unhappy contractors to answer to. Our union contractors are every bit as concerned about this proposal as our open shop contractors are, because they want more work that they can bid and that then their workers can go deliver and make a good living doing it.
All right, Mike, we're going to have to leave it there. Mike Elmendorf, CEO of the Associated General Contractors of New York State, thank you as always.
Thank you.
And still to come, we're getting